spelled R-Y-A-N, last name H-U-F-F, as in Frank. I'm the spokesman for the CU Boulder Police Department, and with me is Susan Kent, that's S-U-S-A-N, last name K-E-N-T, and she is the chair of the History Department. I wanted to let you all know that the professor who was in that class is declining media interviews in this time, but Susan is here to speak on her behalf. She has some messages she wants to pass along. We released the arrest report today. We won't be releasing any other records at this time. As you heard, the court hearings will be held later this week where the two suspects will be charged. So I'll turn it over to Susan, who has a few words to share, not only about the professor, but just also this incident in general.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate your attention. I just wanted to say that the department as a whole is really very pleased that Professor Dover, who is the professor who was given these hot brownies, is doing well, as are, I understand, the students who also consume them. Her greatest concern throughout this whole thing, at least that part of it which she remembers, has been for those other students, and I'm glad that they are okay. I'm sorry this happened. It is a reflection of some very irresponsible and reckless students, and I'm afraid that a lot of people got hurt unnecessarily by their actions. But we're just happy that it ended as well as it did, despite the 24-hour hospital visit that Professor Dover had to endure, and the battery of tests, including an MRI and a CAT scan and any number of other tests that she was subjected to as a result of this.
Can you speak to that at all, about you were saying what she remembers? I mean,
well, she emailed me yesterday and is not entirely aware of what she did in between beginning to feel sick and then I imagine coming to some extent in the hospital on Saturday. But so she's not entirely aware of what was going on in the office of the colleague that she went to try and get some help from. But she was lapsing in and out of consciousness, and when the paramedics got there, she was unable to walk. They took her to the hospital on a stretcher, and then she underwent this series of tests.
Maybe I can. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Maybe I can speak a little bit to also the effects of THC and marijuana. I spoke to Don Mish, who's one of our senior assistant vice chancellors of health and wellness, and he's a doctor. And he said there's really two factors here of why people reacted the way they did to this. Number one, people who don't have exposure to marijuana before can have more significant effects than somebody who's a regular user. Also, when you don't know that you're taking drugs, which happened in this case, and you don't know why you're anxious, don't know why you're dropping in and out of consciousness, it can become more of a concern and the effects can be greater. So there's really two factors for why so many people were ill in this case.
Do you have any idea how much brownies she consumed?
I don't.
I have third-hand knowledge that she took a single bite, and that was it. But I understand from the use of marijuana and brownies that when you eat them, the effects are really quite a bit more extensive and intensive than they would be than if you smoked them. So.
Can you speak to 24 hours in the hospital, the fear that they felt, the students who missed time right in the middle of finals week? I mean, it seems like there are a lot of costs. Can you speak to the costs?
Well, I think the costs are significant, both monetary in terms of the tests that had to be run, and certainly emotional and mental. I mean, the students have exams next week, and I can't imagine that this is going to help them prepare for exams in any way. Professor Dover's costs will be covered by workman's compensation, I'm happy to say, and that's certainly the very minimum that we can do for her. I don't know about the students. I haven't had any contact with them. They are not history majors. They are part of the general population of the university. This course that Professor Dover taught was a lower division course for students to meet their general education requirement in history. So these were not our majors, and I don't know them.
You talked about the physical effects for Professor Dover. How's she handled, when she found out what this was and how it happened, how's she handling all that?
Well, again, I've only had contact with her via email, but this is one tough cookie, let me point out. She's a young and delightful soul who is tougher than she looks, and her concern was about the students, but she did speak to how frightened she was. It was just an experience she didn't understand, didn't know why she was feeling the way she was feeling, and I think it was quite frightening, not just to her, but to her husband as well, and I don't know where her children were at the time, but not a good thing. So, but she'll bounce back. She's really quite a trooper. She's resilient and strong, and if she's not back in the classroom today, which she would be scheduled for, I just don't know if she'll be back by the end of the week, certainly.
And can you speak at all to just the idea that some people might say, well, this was a stupid prank gone wrong?
So let's think about her feeling the effects of this drug in the car with her children strapped into their car seats. What if she had passed out behind the wheel in a populated area? One can imagine what could have come about as a consequence of this. I mean, this was not a prank. This was stupid and irresponsible and reckless and had a terrible impact on at least 8 people.
Again, bring food to class, the elementary concept, as simple as that. They just were asked to bring food to class?
You know, towards the end of the semester, especially the fall semester, which seems to be a little bit more stressful than the spring semester, the faculty like to lighten up a little bit. And so we have these days where either the faculty brings in a big cake for the students, or students bring in refreshments, whatever it might be. So this was something that many people do. Just one of those regular old end of semester days where we try to make it a little bit easier for them as they head into finals week.
I know you probably can't speak on behalf of the university, but you as a professor, would you think twice about having students bring food to class in the future?
I would bring the food to class in the future myself, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other
Thank you very
questions?
much.
All right.
You
Thank
mentioned that she was with her children.